Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 19, 2024, and we are getting into the volume 198 of me answering your immigration related questions. As always, before beginning this video, I'm going to mention, as I mentioned in every video on this channel, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with the very first question, comment from S. Buhari 1214. Thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. Appreciate that. So S. Buhari says, good evening, sir. Hopefully you're doing great. Thank you. Given the following timeline of immigration process, priority date of July 28, 2007, approval of Form I-130 in January 2010, and documentarily qualified, status attained in August 2020 under F4 visa category for Pakistan. I seek clarification regarding the potential implications of aging out. My date of birth is October 8, 1987, thus recently reaching the age of 21. Considering the current status of my case not being current, am I susceptible to aging out, or will the Child Status Protection Act provisions apply to my situation? Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on for F4 first, for all chargeability area on the visa bulletin for May 2024. Let's see, so we are looking at July 2007, and your priority date is July 2007. Okay, so you just became current, which is definitely great news. As of May 2024, you will be current. Now, let's see how long. So you're July 2007, and then Form I-130 was approved in January 2010. So that is, let's see, 2007, 2010, roughly 2.5 years. So you have 2.5 years under CSPA that you can subtract on the day of the interview from your age on the day of the interview. And as long as you're under 21, with that subtraction, you should be good. So right now you are, let's see, so 1997, so you just turned in October, if I'm correct. In October 2023, you turned 21. So it's been now 6 months, so roughly you have 2 more years. And hopefully they schedule, I mean, it depends on the US Embassy, and unfortunately before, your situation would be perfect to file the expedited request with the NVC, but unfortunately it's no longer the case. You cannot file the expedited request based on CSPA anymore, based on you aging out. Unfortunately, you could before, but I don't know why they got rid of it, but unfortunately you cannot do that anymore. But nevertheless, you still have roughly 2 years, and since you're going to be current, most likely you're going to have the interview within those 2 years, and you should be good. So I would give them another 6 months after you become current, and then reach out to the US Embassy, explain the situation, say, hey, I'm in the CSPA right now because technically you're already aged out, you're over 21, but you did not age out yet under CSPA because the petition was pending for 2.5 years with USCIS, and that's the time that you can subtract from your age. But yeah, hopefully they schedule it within the next 2 years. I don't see why wouldn't they. I'm not sure well, Pakistan is a little bit, it's a little bit of a heavier traffic. I know the US Embassy in Islamabad, they are pretty busy, but I would, if you can, I would do the research and see if you can find someone who is in forced family preference category, and whoever already got their interview scheduled or been through the interview or been through the process, and to see how long, and hopefully, ideally, if it was recent. And if anyone who's watching this video, I'd really appreciate someone who's from Pakistan and they had their interview scheduled, to definitely comment on this comment and let us know how long you've been waiting. Okay, let's move on to the next one from James CH3RZ question for scheduling the interviews at the embassies. Does it go by the documentary qualification date or the priority date? I was documentarily qualified 3 years ago in 2021, but my priority date wasn't current until now, so I haven't received an interview. I should be at the front of the line for interviews now that my priority is current with this new visa bulletin, correct? Or do I have to wait at the back of the line again for scheduling interviews at the embassy? James, that's a great question. So it used to be that they would schedule whenever the visa bulletin, whenever it was more consistent, it used to be the case where they scheduled at least the embassies in the embassies that I'm, the cases that I was familiar with, based on documentary qualification. But it seems to be no longer the case. It seems to be that now, well, I would say probably past at least 5 years, they only schedule the interview after the priority date becomes current. So everyone who has been waiting for their priority date to become current, let's say 6 months ago, and had their interview scheduled, are ahead of you. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that you have to wait for your immigrant visa to become available all this time, waiting for the backlog, and once it is become available, you're now waiting again in line for the interview to be scheduled at the embassy. It's quite ridiculous, honestly, but that's really the case, especially in the countries where the immigration flow is, where the US embassies are busier. People can wait potentially, year and a half, 2 years for their interviews to be scheduled. I know Philippines, I get quite a few comments, and people say that they're waiting as long as 2.5 years for their interview to be scheduled. So yeah, it really depends on the embassy, on the country where you're at. The best thing to do is after you are current for at least 6 months, because typically I would say, at least how it used to be, in most of the cases, somewhere between 6 months and a year is, well, at least it was considered to be a normal wait time for an interview to be scheduled in the countries where it is not as much of an immigration flow. So the US embassies are not as busy. But it seems to be more pattern leaning towards a year and a half. But nevertheless, give it 6 months after you're current, and then reach out to the US embassy. Ask them if they can give you that information. In most of the cases, they don't, but it's still worth a try, because sometimes it's an official announcement and they can make it over the phone sometimes. All right, so let me post the response here, and we're going to move on to the next one from Dejan Gayasa 7684. DV 2020, DV 2021 were never responsible for COVID-19, and now COVID is over. The only logical thing is to issue the unused visas immediately, because many talents are there to change their living conditions and contribute to the development of America. Yeah, I guess U.S. Congress doesn't see it that way, unfortunately. Same thing with the family immigration too. It's people who are doing everything legally, who have been waiting for a long time, went through the background checks, medical examinations, paid the fees, and yeah, they're waiting years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It's nothing crazy, for family preference categories. Some of the family preference categories, at least. All right, let's move on to the next one from Chelsea 2591. Hi sir, good day. My question is, I am currently waiting my interview to be scheduled. I'm in the F3 category. My priority date is March 25th, 2009. Documentarily qualified March 30th, 2021. And I am from Trinidad. I recently contacted the US Embassy, and the information given was that my case is still in collecting document status, and it is active and in the scheduling queue. But I don't understand what that means, because all my documents were submitted and approved. Thanks in advance for any assistance you can provide me. Chelsea, yeah, unfortunately it's a generic boilerplate, absolutely useless response from US Embassy. It's shameful, honestly. People wait for years, like yourself, since 2009, and they cannot even bother to simply give you a normal answer. No, they have to send you a boilerplate, copy-paste response in collection of documents. Collection of what documents? You're already documentarily qualified. All the documents are already, that's it. There's no collection of anything. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I wouldn't really pay attention to that anyway. You tried, so it was worth a try. But let's take a look at the F3 and see what's going on the visa bulletin, because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so you're from Trinidad, so you're in all chargeability area. January 2010 as of May 2024 are becoming current. So you have been current for quite some time now. I'm not sure how fast the F3 category was moving, which I do these videos every month on the visa bulletin, but I can't remember all of them and their movement. But if we go by what we have right now, roughly you have been about a year you have been current on the visa bulletin. And I say roughly because sometimes visa bulletin, it moves 3 months ahead, sometimes it doesn't move, so it might have been longer that you've been waiting. It might have been shorter that you've been waiting, but if the visa bulletin was moving 1 month every month, which it wasn't, I know, roughly would have been about a year. With that being said, like I said in the previous one of the previous comments, it seems to be more pattern for the countries that don't have as busy of a flow of immigration traffic. It seems to be between a year and a half. So I would say potentially you are looking at at having your interview scheduled by the end of this year. And if not this year, then chances are early next year. But I think you have a chance by the end of this year. Honestly, I would give it another few months and then call US Embassy and see, maybe over the phone they can be a little bit more helpful. Just explain the situation, say that you have been current for however long you've been current and that you're already documentarily qualified, and you just wanted to see if they can give you approximately how long before your interview is announced to you, because most likely your interview has already been scheduled. You just don't know it yet because they can only announce you the interview 30 days before the interview date. Very rarely it is 60 days, but most of the times it's 30 days because you have to do your medical examination within those 30 days before the interview. All right, so let me post a response here and we're gonna move on to the next one from Reisa Montenegro 8593. I researched a bit more and found this in the Canadian US Embassy. How long will it take to schedule my visa in appointment? Most family preference cases with visa numbers available that are being scheduled for interview were documentarily qualified in March 2023. I don't know what that means, but since it's my priority date, it's past my priority date and documentarily qualified date, I'm hoping it means I'll get my interview soon. I'll update whenever that happens. Thanks for your help. Raisa, you're very welcome. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take too long. I honestly, I really don't know what that means either. It's it's a useless response to a question. Another demonstration of US Embassy being very unhelpful, unfortunately, because whenever it comes to documentary qualification, like for example, in Chelsea's case, she's been documentarily qualified in March 2021. So, but she just recently she's been current already on the visa bulletin for a whole year now. Some people wait longer. Some people are documentarily qualified a year ago, and they don't even have their visa available yet because their priority date is not current yet. So that's really what you get. I wish they were a little bit more helpful, but okay, let's move on to the next one from Masood Khan 3287. Sir, my interview is after 20 days. All right, IR5 category. My question is, if my sponsor not able to submit transcript, latest 2021, one, it is in process, old one we already submitted. What other option we have to submit? Like, can we submit his salary slip, or if his tax auditing company issue as there a letter had, is this acceptable at the time of interview? Can you please advise? Thanks. Masood, thank you very much for the question. It's a great question. So the good news is that you are already documentarily qualified, and the documents that they expect during the interview are the documents that you were documentarily qualified with. So as long as you have all the transcripts and all the tax returns, whatever you submitted for the documentary qualification, all the financial documents, obviously all the copies, all birth certificates, original birth certificate, you already know that you need that. You should be good. Now, having a separate envelope with the most recent stuff is very helpful, absolutely. And if you want to be on the safe side, yes, a letterhead from their accounting company, whoever does, his taxes, tax audit company, saying that, hey, we filed the taxes and we just, or we still didn't file the taxes because something. Having bank statements, having pay slips, W-2s, whatever, it's all helpful, absolutely. If you want to be on the safe side, have it in a separate envelope. If for whatever reason they ask you, oh, but do you have the most recent stuff? You can say, well, yeah, of course, here's the most recent stuff. But in most of the cases, I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. Everything is possible. It's at the courtesy of the consul, whoever is taking your interview. It's good to have it as a backup plan, just in case, to be on the safe side. But most of the cases, they only look at the stuff that you have been documentarily qualified with. So as long as you have that, you should be good to go. All right, let me post a response here. We're gonna move on to Faisal Tahiru. Says, thank you for our update. Faisal, you're very welcome. Glad you found this helpful. Moving further to Sagar Patel 7010. Hello, sir. I have query about my CSPA age. Category F4 India. My priority date is 4th April 2006. Approval date is 17th February 2010. Date of birth 23 September 1999. I'm currently eligible in CAC portal and filing my application. In future, during my visa interview, I would be aged out or not. Please give me clarification on it. So find another way to move USA. Sagar, thank you very much for your question. So let's take a look at the F4 for India first and see if you're current. I think you are, unless for India it's yeah, so looks like India is January 2006 F4 and you are April 2006. So January and you are April. So looks like roughly, yeah, January they're doing and you're in April 2006. Yeah, so roughly, if the visa bulletin keeps moving 1 month every month, you have roughly another 4 months before you become current on the visa bulletin, before your immigrant visa becomes available. Now, let's take a look at your age. So your date of birth is September 1999, which, let me grab my calculator because my math is absolutely horrendous. It's quite embarrassing, honestly. 2024 minus 1999. So 25. So you are 25, turned 25 in September, if I'm correct. Okay, my priority date is 2006 and the approval date is 2010. So roughly almost 4 years of the CSPA that you can subtract, because that's the time period that you can subtract from your age on the day of the interview. So roughly you have 4 years to subtract, which brings it down to, yes, 21. But the problem is because you are so close to, and you're not current yet, so you still have about 4 months, and from then on, it really, I mean, in India, I'm not sure how long it takes for an interview to be scheduled, but it's a busier, obviously a heavier immigration flow from India. So there's a separate chargeability area for India. So potentially you're still looking at, I would say, at least year and a half, potentially 2 years before your interview is scheduled. And yeah, with those time frames, you definitely, unfortunately, getting outside of that CSPA. Unfortunately, it's really sad. Honestly, it's really sad that Department of State, they decided to get rid of the expedited request process for people who are like in your situation. so close to being aged out and waiting for so long, and just to find out that, oh wow, now you're not eligible because you've been waiting for so long. It's very disappointing, and it's not fair. It's not fair at all. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not aware of this. So, that's one of the reasons I do these videos, is because people just don't know this kind of stuff. That the immigrants that are doing everything, that are following the rules, that are doing everything legally, that are waiting for so long, are dealing with issues like Sagar. It's unfortunate. So unfortunately, I most likely you're gonna be aged out by the time your interview is scheduled. Yeah, it's really sad, really sad. So I wish I could give better news, better response, a little bit more pleasant. All right, let's move on to the next one from Smritit Amang 11. Hi sir, could you help me please? My priority date is 2022 April 18, and my documentary qualification is 2023 October 18. And how much time it takes to get interview in Nepal? But my husband is green card holder and my case is I-130. Okay, so you are in F2A category. Let's take a look at the visa bulletin, see what's going on for F2A. You're from Nepal, so it's going to be all chargeability area. So it looks like as of May 2024, people with priority dates in June 2021, they are becoming current on the visa bulletin. So your priority date is in 2022 April 18. So April, and this is June, so you have roughly about a year and let's see, April, May, June. Oh, so about a year and 2 months before you become current on the visa bulletin. Very rough estimate, because we have actually seen some very good movement on, specifically for the F2A, on a few categories actually. For the May 2024, it was a pretty good update. A lot of categories moved ahead. So it might be less, but if the visa bulletin moves every month by 1 month, so just a consistent steady movement, you're looking at another year and 2 months before your priority date becomes current. And then once your priority date becomes current, they schedule your interview, which again, it takes additional time depending on how busy the US Embassy is in Nepal. So you potentially are still looking at some more wait time. But yes. All right, let me post the response here, and we're gonna move on to the next one from Desrin Trovers. My daughter was petitioned 9 years ago. Her priority date was April 6. When can she look for an interview? F1, waiting from Jamaica. All right, let's take a look at the visa bulletin for F1. So Jamaica, so it's going to be all chargeability area. So we're looking at July 2015. That's the priority dates that are, as of May 2024, will be current. Now, your daughter, you said, was petitioned 9 years ago, which means that her priority date is in 2024 minus 9, 2015. Okay, so 2015 was April 6. Okay, so in April 2015. So her priority date is April 2015. Okay, so yeah, so your daughter is, July 2015, and she's in April 2015. Yeah, so your daughter is already current on the visa bulletin, and roughly being current, again, very roughly, because sometimes visa bulletin moves faster, sometimes slower, sometimes it doesn't move, but about few months, about 3 months, April, May, June, July. Yeah, so roughly 3 months she has been current already. As far as I know, Jamaica, US Embassy in Kingston, Jamaica, roughly about a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. But please, if somebody who's from Jamaica, who had their interview already scheduled, especially in F1, family preference category, I would really appreciate you commenting on Desrin's comment and letting her know how long you waited. I would really appreciate that. But the good news is that your daughter, she's already current on the visa bulletin, which is great. That means they probably already scheduled the interview. You just don't know it yet because they can only announce you the interview 30 days before the interview date and not sooner than that, unfortunately. There is in fact a conversation that I heard going on. I don't know, it's either Department of State or Homeland Security, whoever makes the decisions, and I don't even get into that, but there is a conversation that they want to get rid of it completely. That kind of I don't even know what to call it. It's like unknown, basically, status of, oh, I don't know when my interview is. And just once the interview is scheduled, they announce you the interview, whether it's a year from now or 2 years from now. And that would be great, honestly. If they do that, that would be fantastic. So what? Okay, well, they announce you the interview, but you have to do the medical examination 30 days before the interview still. All right, so what? What's wrong with you knowing that your interview is, let's say, a year and a half from now? It's better than just being in the dark. You know, why keep people in the dark? You know, you've been waiting for so long already. Can you just tell us when? But what do I know? Now let's move on to the next one from user. Sorry, sometimes YouTube doesn't show me names. F2A category, my priority date is November 29, 2018, and the case has been documentarily complete at NVC since April 21, 2021. Waiting for Indian embassy to give an interview date. You feel I will get an interview date this year is my priority current. All right, let's take a look, see what's going on for F2A in India. See F2A India. So right now, as of, well, it's the same as all chargeability, but it's June 2021, and you are, oh yeah, okay, so you're November 2018, so you have been current for a while now. You have been current for, well, again, it's a rough estimate, like 2.5 years, but it's a very rough estimate because, like I said, sometimes visa bulletin moves 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead, sometimes it doesn't move at all, so you might have been waiting more, you might have been waiting less, but yes, your priority date is definitely current, and I'm pretty sure it's been current for quite a long time now. So your interview has already been scheduled, you just don't know it yet because they cannot announce you when the interview was scheduled for until it is 30 days before the interview. Very rarely they announce 60 days before the interview, but most of the times it is 30 days before the interview. And yeah, I mean, US Embassy in India, obviously they're busier, heavier immigration flow. And yeah, I would really appreciate someone commenting. That would be great. Someone from India who had their interview scheduled. But yeah, I think you definitely have a good chance of having your interview by the end of this year because your priority date being current for a while now. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna have it by the end of this year. And once you do get your interview scheduled, and for everyone else, if you get your interview scheduled, please come back to this channel, let everyone know how long you waited for your interview to be scheduled, which category you are, and which country you're from, and how long you waited, because it is really helpful. Because that's the best indicator of how long people should estimate their wait times. All right, let's move on to the next one. Woman to woman 8380. Oh, looks like multiple comments. If someone is a resident in San Martin, when do they go for an interview? So San Martin, I'm not sure where that is. She will go to Barbados. Is Barbados up to date? So Barbados would be all chargeability area. So you're looking at all chargeability graph. After they approve, what will be next? It is F3. 3 weeks before my daughter's I-130 to make a decision. 3 weeks before my daughter's I-130 to make a decision. What does it mean? Okay, so I'm assuming if I'm understanding correctly your comments, the I-130 that you have petitioned your daughter is still with USCIS. And I'm assuming you're looking at the processing times on USCIS website, and that's where you see that within roughly 3 weeks, the decision is going to come out, which is great. Once the I-130 is approved with USCIS, it is transferred to the NVC, and because your daughter is in F3 category, It will be quite a long wait time. Barbados, like I said, all chargeability area. So we are looking at January 2010, which means that it is roughly, yeah, it's quite a long time. It's roughly 14 years of wait before the immigrant visa becomes available. Hopefully it moves ahead and faster. Like I said, sometimes Visa Bulletin, you know, it moves ahead quite fast. Like in the previous Visa Bulletin edition, we've seen 3 months, 6 months on some of the categories. So hopefully you won't have to wait that long. But yes, there's still substantial amount of wait involved. Once the petition is in NVC, you'll have to wait a little bit, well, not a little bit, quite a long time as well, for the NVC portal open up to become documentarily qualified, but it's going to be closer to the priority date becoming current, so there's still a significant amount of time to wait. All right, let's do the very last one for today from George O'Doom 2358 M and F2B, and my priority is 2020. When will mine be current? All right, let's take a look at the Visa Bulletin once again. F2B is April 2016. That's the priority dates that are becoming current as of May 2024, and you are in 2020. So you're roughly looking at another 4 years. Roughly, because it might be less. Hopefully it is less. Possibly, potentially, there's always potentially to be more, but hopefully it is less. But as of right now, roughly 4 years. So thank you everyone for asking your questions. Hopefully my answers were helpful. God bless everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.